This video is brought to you by Harold Sack, who gave me a massive 1 year's worth of subscriptions on Patreon. Betor Ancestor's Voice versus Nashi, Winter, and Eowyn. Plenty of mana, but maybe we could surveil some things into the graveyard, wipe the board with Living Death and reanimate them. That's a pretty bad plan in all honesty. It could work if we're really lucky, but it relies too much on luck, so mulligan. Okay, that's better. We will keep. We've got a bit of card draw and some Soul Sisters. Well, I was going to go for a turn 1 Essence Warden, but I think turn 1 has Serret Ascendant written all over it. A Mind Stone for the Golgari player. And this thing that's a Castle Ardenvale, so can make human tokens. Crashing Drawbridge to give haste to the Nashi most likely, which we'll likely have to deal with next turn. We definitely want green mana, so go for the Essence Warden now. And there's not too much means of life loss at the moment, so I don't particularly care about the Children of Corliss, but we could get it in anyway, because hopefully we can always reanimate it. Gains us a life with the Warden, and then swinging in to the right, I dare say the Nashi will be coming in towards us anyway, so just try and outrace him at this point. Drew into Gravebreaker Lamia, by the way, which is in tune with legs, plus it has lifelink, so does quite a bit in this deck, I imagine. Sunset Revelry. If an opponent has more life than you, we certainly do, so gains 4 and makes a couple of humans. I'm not sure if he drew a card there or not, but he has 6 cards in hand now. Winter is the first commander to hit play thanks to the Mind Stone, so we gain more life from the Essence Warden. That triggers on our opponent's creatures as well. I'm fully expecting the Nashi to enter play, so it might be worth just blocking with the Children of Corliss. Yep, swings in towards us, so I'll just chump block. And there's a land for us, so I'll probably use that. I'm wondering, we could lose life with this into our commander. Could lose up to 3 life if we want to shock something in. So let's shock down the Godless Shrine. I want to fix our colours, even though it's not going to leave us with anything to block with. We can't play a creature here anyway, so maybe just hold back the Serret Ascendant. Does mean we're not gaining life, but it also means that this thing isn't attacking us and exiling stuff. Hopefully our opponents will be able to chump this and keep it from doing stuff. Looks as though we shouldn't be expecting any board wipes though, because everyone's playing out their creatures. Another human. When this or another human enters, tap a creature an opponent controls. You have to assume it's going to be the Serret Ascendant, and it is. And they'll get human tokens from this, so yeah, this is going to do a lot of work for them. I'm going to encourage everyone to be swinging in. But next turn we should be able to get down Betor and then take some damage from the Polluted Delta into reanimating this as a chump blocker. And the Winter swings in towards us as well. So they mill 3. That is Sol Ring, Greaves and Buried Alive. So I'll just take the damage here and might even chump block the Nashi, and it gets blown up. It'll end up in the graveyard, which is just more stuff for us to reanimate. Anyway, Sol Ring coming out of the graveyard from the E-Witness. So plays the Sol Ring. Okay, and he's just tapping his colours now, so that's Morbid Opportunist. I'll just take the hit from the Nashi in that case. It's risky, but makes us less of a threat because everyone seems to be looking in our direction. And it actually looks as though this player is going to be the bigger threat, so I'll start swinging in over there. Although everyone's looking half decent. Morbid Opportunist is going to trigger on every turn, assuming that it sees a creature die on every turn, so I have to be careful with something like the Children of Corliss. But this is good for gaining all the life back that you dump into something like Necropotence. Okay, so exile from us a Misty Rainforest, a Grist, and then there's a Talisman in exile. He did manage to get himself a Trespasser's Curse, so he must have got that from his own exile zone. Played a Temple of the False God as well. Over to our turn, and we want to reanimate this with the commander, so go for the Polluted Delta for an untapped land. Noteworthy that Yavimaya is in play, so all the lands can tap for green. And we'll swing in this time, lost out on 6 life previously. Serret Ascendant straight down the middle. And with keeping the Essence Warden, the risk seemed to have paid off there, so Betor now can make a better blocker out of the Essence Warden. And still reanimate the Children of Corliss. Gained a bunch of life, so the Soul Sisters are much more useful. I mean, they're really good anyway, but I think I'm running like 3 or 4 of them in this list, so they need to be better than just 1/1s. And the commander will obviously do that. Anyway, able to tap something down with a human token that enters. So see if they continue to gang up on us. Probably will. Taps down the commander. And then another human AOing into play. Another human has entered under their control this turn, so they'll get a couple of human knights. So pretty much everything's getting tapped down. Didn't look at who this was enchanting actually. Whenever a creature the enchanted player controls enters, they get drained for 1. So yeah, the Trespasser's Curse is going to be dealing a lot of damage to them over there. Just going to tap down our entire army here by the looks of it. Essence Warden continuing to gain us life. And then everything swinging in towards us. We're only really concerned with commander damage as long as we can keep gaining life. So trying to keep our life total down might be a distraction for our opponents. We're still at 48 after that big swing. There's a war room over here as well, so they have to pay life into that to draw a card. Pay a couple of life into it. The Winter swings into the left. And that has Death Touch, so might have a token thrown in the way of it. 2-1 swings at us. And milled this time, there's Valgavoth, we've got that in this list. A land and a Head Shredder. I haven't seen Head Shredder played yet, but that's the one where if you see lands go in the bin, they go straight into play. Assassin's Trophy onto the Serret Ascendant is easily reanimated as long as we can lose life. So we'll say yes to going and grabbing a basic. Only got 2 left in the list. Let's grab another green. And that killed off a creature, of course, so Morbid Opportunist. Triggered for a card draw over here. Yeah, that was an odd Assassin's Trophy. Not sure why they wouldn't just hold on to that if they were eager to see the back of this. Played Solemn Simulacrum as well and got in Insidious Roots before all that. Don't have any tokens in play at the moment though. And they do have permanents in the bin now. So exiled 4 things and are they just going to get back the Valgavoth? Okay, they went and grabbed the land as opposed to the Valgavoth. Surprised to not see the demon in play there. So Nashi continuing to focus on us. And see what he gets. Their Swords to Plowshares could go on our commander. Probably will. There's lands everywhere else, so it has to be swords. Nope, used our swords, but put it on the Eternal Witness is probably a good idea actually. Although, going after this, I mean this is setting up our opponent's attacks, so he probably doesn't want to see the back of that, but Lossanat Captain would be up there for me as well. Solemn Simulacrum for the 2nd time during the turn cycle. So has a decent number of swamps, has snuck down a Cabal Stronghold at some point. That is a Thieves' Tools. So it enters with a treasure token, and the equipped creature can't be blocked, so that will obviously make the commander unblockable. Can we lose life this turn? We've got Kami of Whispered Hopes, so that's life gain, and we can draw some with the Painful Truths, so I think that's what we're doing this turn. That means we can reanimate this thing, and draw cards, and get our mana up with this. So let's draw first. And that is lose 3, draw 3, there's Toxic Deluge. We want to be getting the plus counters up first, I think. Although this is only 1 toughness. Yeah, we could get rid of Aoin. Winter would stay in play, but it would get rid of everything else. We've already lost the 3 life to reanimate the Serret Ascendant if we like. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for this. Could maybe have swung in with Betor first in order to gain the life. That might have been a better idea. And then could have cracked this to gain some life as well actually, because we just lost it to the Painful Truths. Yeah, so some slight errors here, but I think we'll manage. Might as well hold this back if we're not going to gain life from it anyway. So I'll swing in the Essence Warden to the right. And that thing's going to get even bigger because I don't have another legal target for the plus counters at the moment. So Betor has to go on the Essence Warden, and we'll get back the Serret Ascendant. We're still above 30 life, so we've still got this entering as a 6/6. Should get above our starting life total with the Essence Warden managing to stick in play all this time. A Sol Ring from the human player, who I imagine has been slowed down a fair amount here. Still has a decent number of cards in hand. Mother of Runes still has the curse on him there, so we gain a life, he gets drained for 1. And gets himself into Aragorn, so Vigilance Lifelink, you become the Monarch when it enters. Creatures can't block if you're the Monarch, so we'll have to make sure that he doesn't keep hold of that. Winter now with plenty of mana, and swings in at us with Death Touch. Do we punish him for that? He mills more stuff. It's at the beginning of the end step. We could just force him to recast his commander here, because then he'd still be able to... That's an artifact, creature, sorcery. He's got a land as well, so he could get back the Valgavoth. Let's force him to recast it. He's only got 3 cards in hand, but at least he's not drawing with this. The more command attacks we can put on his creature, the better. So when that dies, it makes the first plant token here, gains us a life with the Soul Sister. This can tap for a mana next turn, because it has Summoning Sickness at the moment, obviously. Okay, Binding of the Old Gods probably blows up our commander. I think he can still afford to get his commander into play though. Alright, goes after the Essence Warden. And does replay the Winter, so he can still get back the Demon, although he didn't do it last time, maybe it was a misclick. And this triggered because a bunch of creatures left the graveyard, so gets a plant token there as well. So 2 plant tokens in play, and reanimated Junji, okay. Just pretty much exiled everything. He's got the Solemn and the Valgavoth still in the graveyard. So this might be worth the Anguished Unmaking in order to lose the 3 life, and then I was thinking we could go Gravebreaker Lamia. We've lost 3 life to Anguished Unmaking, which reanimates something like Eternal Witness, which would be good to have available to us to grab things back from the bin. There's Nashi, which will be unblockable next turn. 9 lives for Milia as well. When it dies, if it had a revival counter on it, return it with 1 fewer. So that smells like some kind of combo of some kind. We need an untapped land if we're going to do this. Let's go Anguished Unmaking onto Junji. And this is a death trigger, so it's not going to reanimate anything. And then swing in for some life gain so that we can dump it on the Lamia. Just go straight down the middle and play the Gravebreaker. Throw Eternal Witness into the bin. Plus counters equal to the life we've gained this turn. And then reanimate Eternal Witness this time. Don't mind blocking with that if we're going to consistently reanimate it. Eternal Witness can grab anything back to hand, so could be Toxic Deluge again. I think I'd rather have the Painful Truths. It's life loss and a means of refilling our hand. Still a bunch of cards in the human player's hand, but doesn't have a massive amount of mana. That was... oh, Cyclonic Rift. Main phase, Cyclonic Rift, so... well, we get to use E-Witness again at least, and the Gravebreaker Lamia. Totally forgot about the Monarchy over here, but we wouldn't have been able to block anyway. So, more damage onto us. That means next turn we can get down our commander again and maybe draw more cards into Betor so that... could reanimate something for 3. Maybe it just has to be the Serret Ascendant again as a blocker. This is where we need the Pain lands in play really, so that we can consistently lose life to mana, so that we can grab our 1-drops. The rocks come back out again for the Golgari player. Binding of the Old Gods blows something up, gets rid of Aragorn, then the Insidious Roots back into play, but did not play his commander at least. I mean, he couldn't reanimate anything anyway after exiling his graveyard to the Junji. There's a Demolition Field over here, so could get rid of a utility land like Vault of the Archangel. Maybe the Human Generator. I'm not sure there's that much else to worry about really. Over here is High Society Hunter, is a good one. I haven't seen much of this since it released. But that's whenever any non-token creature dies, draw a card. Replays the Nashi as well. So what do we want to do here? There's an Envoy of the Ancestors to give our creatures lifelink as long as they're modified, which entails you actually keeping your creatures in play. So I think we just have to lose life into Betor here really. That will give us an opportunity. We can only go for a 3-drop anyway, so we can go Shadowy Backstreet and see if there's anything in the graveyard that we want to set up. Bolas's Citadel is certainly staying on top of the library. Lose plenty of life to that. Yeah, I think we just have to go for the life loss here and discard some stuff to Painful Truths. So back down to our starting life total. And that's drawn us into lands. Unfortunately can't afford that reanimate. Have to look at our opponent's graveyards for reanimate as well. Could get a Valgavoth from our opponent. Lose plenty of life to that. Betor, we can't put any plus counters on anything unfortunately. But we can go after the Serret Ascendant thanks to losing life. And unfortunately I think I have to... what are we going to try to reanimate next turn? Essence Warden is good. We could set up something with Gravebreaker Lamia. Don't know if we're going to get time to do anything with Kami. I think I might just be going after the Essence Warden next turn to regain life. So let's get rid of Gavany Township. Want as many ways to lose life as possible, and a fetch into a shock will do that for us. But I'm hoping that Valgavoth doesn't get reanimated next turn. Reanimating this might make the opponent scoop, so we lose the demon, but we at least knock a player out. Eowyn into play again. Can they get another human down here? Definitely wanted to draw into the Bolas's Citadel as well, not only to lose the life, but didn't want Nashi exiling it and taking it from us, which I'm sure he would have done, although it would have cost him 6 life and then life to actually get the card advantage from that. Anyway, didn't have a human to play, so Eowyn doesn't make any knights. The Saga is going to ramp, and another wipe. Meat Hut Massacre is going to take out everything. So do we want to reanimate Betor? Reanimate onto Betor loses us 5 life, and then we could put something in the bin with Gravebreaker Lamia. Okay, our opponent going for Flawless Maneuver doesn't do anything with the minus, so wasting that. Might be a newer player, I thought that when he went for the main phase Cyclonic Rift. Anyway, I think I'll reanimate Betor. I'm very tempted to go for reanimation onto the Valgavoth over here, but I think that might make our opponent scoop. Creatures die, so High Society Hunter is going to draw a bunch of cards. The human player looks like a shame scoop because he still had a decent number of cards in hand. No, we will not put our commander in the command zone. And the Golgari player going to gain a bunch of life from the creatures dying to Meat Hut Massacre. And gets down a room. Whenever one or more cards are put into your graveyard from your library, each opponent loses life for each of the card types amongst those cards. Okay, see what the mono black player can do. Makes 5 mana with the Cabal Stronghold. And that's a Crypt Ghast, so with 5 swamps he's got 10 mana, plus the 1 floating, 10 cards in hand as well. And there's a Batterskull, seeing plenty of life gain this game. Court of Loch Thwain reintroduces the Monarchy. The Monarchy was actually over here, so I'm assuming... Does it go to the next player in the turn order, or did he hit the human player at some point? I'm not sure. Anyway, it's over here. So goes through to the end step, draws up to 9 in hand, we'll have to discard to hand size. Yeah, it's a shame I'm feeling the need to reanimate Betor here because we've got some decent cards to start reanimating, like High Society. Anyway, got rid of Trespasser's Curse and the Thieves' Tools. And there we see another Surveil land. Let's just go straight for the reanimate onto the commander. Not sure if that was the right decision or not, because it would have cost us 7, I think. So we could have still gone 7, played a tap land in this instance, and then reanimated something big and still got something out of our graveyard, so maybe it was a waste of reanimate. We're on 5 life lost so far. So are we just on a setup here? Go after the Serret Ascendant again? Just keep looking at this Kami. Could set up something with the Gravebreaker Lamia. Lost 5, 6, 7 and 8. Our biggest creatures are 9 unfortunately. Could maybe try and grab something with the Bolas's Citadel, I suppose. But then we're not setting up with Lamia. Yeah, let's go for the Kami. I think we're playing a bit of a fun game so far. And we'll just aim to reanimate the Serret Ascendant again. Or maybe could reanimate something a bit more interesting. Let's go for the Lamia actually. Having said that, we won't be gaining life here, will we? So we can't put any counters on that, unfortunately. Could go for the Burning Rune Demon, I suppose. Or Archangel of Thune. Archangel of Thune is fun if we reanimate the Essence Warden. Let's go for that. Means that we can hold on to this as well, because we've already lost the 5 life. So that means we go Underground Mortuary instead. And Signing Blood we will keep on top, it's a good means of life loss. Unfortunately, we can't reanimate the Essence Warden and the Archangel of Thune in one turn. So we're doing some slow setup here. If we had a means of losing a lot more life in a turn, then could have gone for our own Valgavoth. We'll just have to see if we manage to actually keep this board intact. The last chapter is irrelevant because it doesn't have any creatures to give Death Touch. Does mean that he's got an Enchantment Saga in the bin though. Opening the room up here as well. Mill 3, return a creature card from graveyard to battlefield. So we might finally be seeing that Valgavoth. And there it is. Insidious Roots triggers as well. And he also milled some artifacts, a Burnished Heart, Ren and 7 is a Planeswalker. I'll never understand why you can't keep graveyards open on Magic Online. It's kind of important. Insidious Fungus. You can get rid of an artifact, an enchantment, or draw a card. Noteworthy that this is an enchantment. Decides to sacrifice it in order to get rid of the Court of Locthwain, and then takes the Court of Locthwain for himself. Does that with the Valgavoth, I imagine. A go for the throw onto Archangel of Thune. I thought I was playing it a bit too fun. I should have definitely reanimated this. But like I said before, I'm just really trying to keep players scooping. Or keep players from scooping, I mean. A mulch, reveal the top 4 cards. All lands into your hand, the rest in the bin. Only 1 card left in hand over there. Ash Baron's been cycled as well, so we'll be able to go and grab a basic. Puts a land in his bin. And then draws a card to the Monarch. So he's 4 cards in hand by the end of the turn. Looks as though we might have to go E-Witness, grab back the... Well, it could just be Swords to Plowshares, I suppose, although that gains him life. Anguished Unmaking loses us life, which might be relevant. So if we go for our 2/3 drops, Anguished Unmaking on this has a sacrifice, the 2/3 drops and the Kami, exiling them, but it sees the back of this thing. Maybe it's worth keeping E-Witness around and losing out on the Lamia, I don't know. The 9 Lives Familiar back into play again, and we might see Extort from our opponent. Go for the throw, cast onto this means he has to sacrifice 3 non-land permanents, so I'm guessing he's willing to do that here, unless he just ignored the ward. He could get rid of Batterskull and the Germ token, and then 9 Lives Familiar would come straight back, so yeah, that's what he does. That does make sense, means that we don't have to do it next turn. You gain a life from the Meat Hut Massacre, and when you gain a life everything gets plus counters, thanks to our Archangel of Thune. That does mean it's not exiled though, so with a graveyard pretty full they can soon reanimate it again with the commander. Each opponent loses a life when it dies, and then reanimate onto the Valgavoth, which is what we should have done. Jump down to 17 with that though. Then Whispersalt Cloak is going to give it Shroud by the looks of it. So maybe it's E-Witness onto the Toxic Deluge then. Doesn't have haste at least. Mask of Grizzlebrand is lifelink, and you can draw a bunch of cards with it as well. It's gone up to 21, so I'm assuming that he used some Extort mana there. Our attacks aren't all that easy now, but we do want to be gaining some life. The Serra Ascendant has finally been switched off. So there's Signing Blood. We can lose life this turn. It will just be for something like Essence Warden. When we wipe everything out to Toxic Deluge, it's going to die to the Valgavoth. Do we just do some kind of Hail Mary stuff with Bolas's Citadel? Let's go for that. So there is a Fell the Profane, which is going to lose us 4 life. Kill off our own Archangel of Thune will make it easier to swing in over there to gain some life. Revealing a land off the top, so hopefully we don't see another land here, because we've only got 1 land drop a turn. And of course we do, so that means this is equal to power thankfully and not plus counters. So we can still go for E-Witness into, where is it, the Toxic Deluge. I was just hoping that we'd be able to cheat out some more stuff first, but apparently not. So let's go through to combat. We'll just see Valgavoth again next turn because this guy's going to reanimate it. Either way, we'll swing both of these into the left simply to gain the life. Decides to use the 1/2 to chump, so we keep Lamia in play. We'll steal the Monarch here as well. Each opponent loses a life because a creature died, and we're up to 29. So if we keep our commander in play, we put a bunch of plus counters on this. E-Witness comes back, and is there anything relevant that we can reanimate? Not really. We could reanimate the High Society Hunter. I'm loath to spend too much time trying to get rid of this. Unfortunately our opponent beat us to it. I was trying to exile it, but if we get rid of it, this guy's just going to reanimate it straight away, so we just kind of need to focus on our own board. So let's go E-Witness. Take the reanimate, and then reanimate the High Society Hunter. We could actually go for the Insidious Fungus, although we couldn't afford to sack it anyway. Could make our opponent reanimate that and blow up the Whispersalt Cloak. Yeah, I think we're just having to go for the High Society here. So losing a nice chunk of life there. Then Betor puts the plus counters on here, or we could put them over there. How much life did we gain? 3 plus 4 is 7. That makes this a decent blocker towards the Valgavoth. So, much as I want to put counters on this, maybe we could just chump with the High Society, but that keeps it in play. I'll try and protect my board a little bit here. Let's go for the Essence Warden again. Draw a card to the Monarch. Might reveal an instant speed card on top for the Bolas's Citadel. No, it is Lathiel. It's more life gain at least, and maybe we'll finally be able to start distributing plus counters across our board. But this is now a 13-11. Court of Lochthwain exiles the top card over here. Not going to get rid of our Lathiel, thankfully. Exiles underneath it a Swamp. I'm sure he wanted to see something better than that. So we're forcing the Golgari player. Yeah, here we go. I knew he'd have, well, I didn't know, but I assumed, hoped he'd have some counter removal, so us not dealing with Valgavoth like we maybe could have done is forcing this guy to do it instead. Chromatic Sphere as well, so the Haywire Mite can get rid of the Whisper Silk Cloak, which we're assuming he wants to do. And he does. That's exile as well, so won't be seeing that again this game. 2 cards left in hand. He's going to have to sacrifice stuff, which might be why he played this, so he can pay the ward cost. Plays Winter. Even better, if he can only destroy it at the end step, leaving Valgavoth in the bin, it just makes it last slightly longer, gives us a bit more time. I'm glad we're incrementally gaining life from Essence Warden again. Draws a card to the War Room, doesn't look good. He can only play cards exiled with Valgavoth, which means the Whisper Silk Cloak, although it's in exile, it wasn't with the Demon, so he can't replay that at least. Can replay Haywire Mite though. Winter can reanimate something, so let's see what happens, because I can't actually look at his graveyard and try to predict what's going on here. Creatures leaving the bin, triggers for some more plant tokens, and he goes and grabs himself the Binding of the Old Gods, so I'm going to point that at Valgavoth, you would assume. Yep, and has to pay the ward on it. So like I said before, this is at least him doing it and not us. We've managed to keep our board intact, so if Valgavoth stays in the bin and we can swing in over here and deal with him, then that would be ideal for us. Sacrificed a bunch of stuff into Valgavoth, including, ironically, the Binding of the Old Gods itself and the Chromatic Sphere, as we assumed. We drew a card there somehow. I'm hoping the top card isn't exiled at some point by the mono black player, because Aetherflux Reservoir we would very much like to see. There's no means of us drawing or shuffling at the moment, but it might be that our gamble of leaving Val alone paid off. Okay, Demo Field is going to shuffle. See, the problem is if we don't go and grab a land here, it's going to be obvious that we like what's on top of our library, which means they want to exile the top card. Can they exile the top card though? I'm going to say no to this against my better judgment. Might be that he's just after more swamps. In hindsight, had we have actually known what was on top of our library, we could have gone for Signing Blood and drawn those 2 additional cards. I was just trying to keep pain in our hand for future turns, and obviously we didn't know what was on top of the library either. Promise of Power. I'm not sure if they've entwined that or not. Got 2 cards in hand, see if a demon appears. A demon does appear and they go up to 7 cards in hand, 14 life. Sword of Vengeance is Haste and Trample and Vigilance. I don't think they can get their commander back in though, thankfully. Happy for this player to take a hit for 7 if it goes onto the demon. We'll have the Haste and Vigilance as well as the Evasion, so no reason not to. It has lifelink as well, so it takes our opponent further away from us taking him out. Is now a First Strike, Flying Haste, lifelink, Trample, Vigilance, 9/7. And it was correct for us to buff up the flyer apparently, unless he can remove it here. Does swing into the left, so maybe we'll be able to get rid of this guy before Valgavoth reappears. Managed to keep our Aetherflux Reservoir on top. We're going to have to hardcast it instead of paying life, but I think it will be worth the investment. This guy's gone down to 16 with a 13/11 flyer in play. And there's Haste as well, so let's go hardcasting the Reservoir. We don't have the Sensei's Divining Top combo or anything like that in here, so it's just a case of keep going until you can't play any more cards because you've hit 2 lands. Gain a life. We lost 2 life to Plane the Lightning Greaves. Shadow Spear's a nice cheap one. Can give lifelink to something like this as well if we want it to. So yeah, I think we played it alright last turn, keeping that Valgavoth in play. Go up to 28, there's Sunscorched Regent, which can gain us even more life when our opponents do stuff. A Sol Ring as well, our luck is starting to turn here. Not only are we gaining a bunch of life, but we're losing a bunch of life as well, which is obviously excellent with our commander. Play the Sol Ring. Might be able to get rid of both of our opponents here with a bit of luck, actually. There's the One Ring as well to further hurt our opponents. In fact, we could clear a land off the top with that, as well as protect ourselves for a turn. So with that, we go down to 28 and then back up to 34. A Tear Asunder. What do we want Tear Asunder on? Alright, this player decided to scoop. We're not infinite here, but he's just thrown his opponent under the bus. And that's a shame that they don't play it out. I mean, the game was going for quite a while. Living Death. I wouldn't have played Living Death, actually. So if our opponents had actually stuck that out for just casting the Tear Asunder, probably onto the Mask of Grizzlebrand, I think, they would have seen the Living Death. We would have drawn that with the One Ring. Nature's Law shuffles away a land. Let's just assume that we see more stuff. Yeah, I think, in hindsight, actually, I've just been kicked out into the lobby, so we can't see. We don't know what would have happened after the shuffle anyway. But I think we would have gained enough life there to one-shot someone with the Aetherflux Reservoir, and then the flying evasive creatures could have swung in the other way and taken the other player out. So like I said a few times, not dedicating too many resources to trying to get rid of Valgavoth and encourage our other opponent to do that instead was absolutely the right move. Bit of a gamble, but sometimes you just have to stop sacrificing your board to get rid of a common threat and actually keep your own board intact so that you can try and get off a win like we did here. I did not think much of Betor, however you say it, when it was first spoiled, but this is actually the most fun I've had with a commander in a long time. Life gain, life loss, plus counters and reanimator all in one package is very good, as long as you don't see any graveyard hate. Might need a bit more plus counter shenanigans. I have to tweak the deck a little bit here and there, because we were struggling to get counters on the Kami, but you have to be careful in these decks pulling in too many different directions, so something has to give at some point. Anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed this one. I'm hoping that you do want to see more from it, because I wouldn't mind playing it again. Leave your comments as ever, let me know what you think, and a massive thank you to the patrons for their financial support of the channel. You can do so yourself via the link in the description below. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.